You want to make a great movie, you got to be able to see it and you got to be able to hear it. Today's guest is a professional sound recorder and mixer. He's the guy who makes everybody able to hear the movie properly. If you want to be a successful indie filmmaker, you need to know a lot about not just the production of movies, but the business. We are going to tell you the truth and reality of what really happens in the indie film business. All right, today we have Beto Cabral, and he and I have worked on many movies together. When you find somebody who's really good at doing the sound recording and the mixing, you keep going back to them because you want your movie to sound good. And Beto has earned my trust many, many times over because he just knows what he's doing and he does it really well and always keeps a smile on his face. Beto, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing all your experiences and thoughts with our audience. We've done 3 movies together. 3, I think, so far, right? And truth be known, I mean, I'm not sure I'd even ever look for anybody else because I like your style. I like how quick you move. I like when you stop me and say, Jeff, we need to do that again. You are a perfectionist within the means, like not perfect. Like you'll say to me sometimes when we're shooting, you'll say, okay, I'll say, how was it? You'll say, it could be better, but it's usable. And you see, a director, when they're moving at the speed I move at, likes to hear that kind of thing. But sometimes you'll say to me, we need to do it again. And I respect that. So I like that a lot. All right. So listen, I think a lot of indie filmmakers underestimate the importance of recording sound properly. And nobody really wants to spend the money to do it at the level you do it. And I just think to myself, like, why do you want to have dirty sound? You're not going to be able to hear it. Nobody's going to be able to enjoy it. So just talk to us. I mean, you dealt with a lot of low-budget indie films. Like, we're talking low-budget indie filmmaking here. Am I right that people just don't really pay enough attention to the sound?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Actually, thank you, Jeff, for the intro. That was like a super intro. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, that happens a lot. You know, sometimes they dedicate a lot of the budget and the resources to camera, you know, like, oh, we're going to get a good camera and we have a great camera. But then I'm kind of towards the end of the line of the hiring chain. And then it's like they don't want to kind of dedicate a proper budget for it because, you know, it gets to a point that is a compromise, right? Because, okay, I want to work with you, but, you know, we could do this way, we could do that way. And, you know, and also goes also for like to have a second person, right? A dedicated boom operator.
Yeah.
The movie would benefit so much if the production sound mixer is just recording, getting clean ISOs, thinking creatively, or what will help to enhance the storytelling. And the boom operator is kind of getting the performance, right? He has the mic on people, on cue. Because if you're in one-man band, it's like it's a lot of stuff, and it gets to a point that gets some compromises.
Yeah, no, you actually taught me that, you know, because there's a lot of sound mixer recorders. Do I call it sound mixer or sound recorder? So, I mean, what's the actual term that we use?
People say differently, but production sound mixer usually, and you know, then sometimes people say A2 or boom operator or depending.
I'm going to call it production sound mixer. All right.
Okay.
So there are people in the industry, lots of them who work in the indie budget, you know, low budget arena that say I can do boom and record at the same time. They wear those, you know, portable packs, like you have one of those, and they hold the boom and they do a one-stop shop. But you've said to me right from the get-go, I could do that, but I don't want to do it because you're not going to be happy because you're not going to get the quality of sound that you get. So spend the extra money and let's go with a separate boom operator who actually knows what they're doing, who can mic the actors quickly, and we get it proper. And at first I struggled with that because it's another expense, you know, relatively big expense. But after seeing what the result was, it's actually worth it. It's funny you say, you know, you're kind of the last thought. Okay, let's get the camera team, maybe the gaffer, and, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I think on the last movie, I think I said to you, are you available these dates? And you said, I'm not. And I think I shifted the dates just to accommodate you so that I could have you on. Not that there's other people in the industry who can't do what you do, but when you find somebody you trust and like and you work with and you have good chemistry, it's worth it. And I think, I can't remember if I shifted this date's a week or two just to accommodate because I know how important sound is and I wanted good sound and I don't want to have to mess with it. And you said, this is what it takes. Let's do it. Your price is fair. I mean, you're not the cheapest guy on set or in the industry, but you deliver good quality. So, all right, how did you get into this industry and why? Why did you want to do this?
So goes way back. In Brazil, I have a bachelor's in advertising, and my thesis was on a film school that just got to my hometown. So that's how I kind of did the first kind of taste. And I used to work on a little ad agency. I don't know if you know any of this.
I don't. I actually don't.
No,
It's
yeah.
funny. I've 3 films. I haven't asked you this.
Yeah. So it was a tiny agency, me and the two owners, and they got to a point, hey, we have to downsize. We fired. So okay, I'll try the film school deal. Like, let's see. That seems very interesting. And the very first time that like student films, right? I plug a shotgun mic to, I think it was straight to camera, I don't remember. I found some fascinating that you point the mics different directions and different to different things. And I've been playing drums since I was 10. So I always sound tuned person, and I always enjoy to work with on a group setup, everyone for a common goal. So I think it was a mixture of that, right? Of already liking sound and a group of people for a common goal. And I think that kind of what attracts me the most, because I also do audio post production, and I did more in the past. Nowadays, people know way more for production sound, which I also enjoy. But it's like a lone journey, right? You're by yourself and all that most of the time. And but yeah, on set, it's a group of people on common set, and that's how everything started to me. So from that student film, I started working as a PA and always trying to go for the sound direction, never want to be a camera or anything like that. So I was telling all sound people, hey, I could help you. And eventually some people like mentored me, and that how everything started.
For those people who are considering being sound people, do you think they should aim for being, the sound mixer on set or post audio or both? I mean, just explain the difference. And
Okay, so yeah, the production sound mixer on set, it's like on a narrative setup, it's gonna be the first group of people that are gonna record sound of, to that point you only have script and lines and no performance. So when we start shooting, is the team they're gonna record all the original performances and all that, and the post production sound. So we do all the shooting days, then go to editorial. So you as actually a production sound mixer, you're also mixing. That's what they're gonna use for the dailies and what the editor is gonna use. So it's also a very important job. Try to do a really good mix, right? So the editor don't have to be worried about and just use that one mix track to edit the movie. And later on, when the edit is done and it's locked, they hand off to the audio post-production team or person, right? And that person take whatever is edited and is gonna do all the dialogue editing, and later on they're gonna do the re-recording mixing, which is we have dialogue effects, which is sound effects, and music, and make everything sound consistent and nice
and balanced. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how much post production work do you do relative to production sound mixer?
It depends from one year to the other, but some year I would say it's like 10% of the post sound, but never goes more than 20% because I'm always on set, and I tend not to try to get involved in a post production project. Will take me a long time because I like both, but the post production there's more the back and forth for approvals, and sometimes the time frame is a little longer, right? To move the process. And when you're shooting, is like every day is different, or like every chunk, every whatever time period. So yeah, it's I would say it varies from 10 to 20% these days.
Okay, I'm going to say, and maybe this is the wrong adjective to or the adverb, whatever it is to use, but I'm going to say that your role on set as the production sound mixer is to get the dialogue clean. We want clean dialogue, meaning we're trying to separate all the other outside sounds so that you can isolate that dialogue and have it clean as the actors are saying it. Because, for those of you who don't know, we're going to add back everything anyways. We're going to add back all the sound effects. We're going to add back the ambient noise in the background. We're going to add everything back. So the cleaner you can get the dialogue, the better it is. That's the goal. But on low-budget indie production, as you know, we're not shooting on sound stages where sound is, controlled. We're shooting usually on location, often outdoors. You're dealing with airplanes, you're dealing with boats and harbors and trains in the background and all this kind of stuff. So tell us some of the sort of the nightmare situations that, you just want to avoid in indie film production because you're just not going to get clean sound?
You know,
Like, don't shoot beside an airport, for instance.
yeah, we've never done that, right, Jeff?
I know enough not to do that. But remember, we were shooting and their planes kept coming. We were in a flight path somewhere.
Yes, San Diego, it's a big flight path. Sometimes you think you're safe or not. Location is like always a toss because sometimes you think, oh no, this is a quiet neighborhood. And of course, that they're going to shoot there, the next door neighbors is like the construction day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're renovating.
And or like, oh, the dogs are super excited right here. So it's like, it's a fact, something's going to happen. So whatever you are. But yeah, so locations, yeah, there are some tough locations as like, close to airport or, the ocean. The thing is like the tough part is when you try to portray something that is not what you see, right? You're like, oh, this is a beautiful house, but it's right next to the freeway. So you're fighting that, like you're in the backyard, beautiful scenery, but you're fighting all that. So it's the hardest, right? Because when you're in front of the ocean,
and you expect we're going to add it back anyways.
Yeah, and it bleeds a little, but it's not a problem, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a common bed. So when you're in tough locations, you already have like, I try to have a conversation. Hey, like these are the possible outcomes or problems, or not problems, like sound events that may happen. And we go through the day, right? So, but when you're outside and it's really noisy, you have to rely a lot on the lav mics, and the boom sound better and natural. But when you're exteriors and it's a tough one, you have to rely a lot on the lav, and you just have to make sure you do a good job because you're hiding it, right? So
you're always using both. You're using a boom mic at top, kind of getting more natural ambient sound, and a lavalier is on all the main characters that have dialogue. You put lavs on them.
Yes, and even it seems like not like this is a tough environment to fly a boom. Don't even fly a boom. I always do because it sounds more natural, right? Even if it's not going to use that much. The editor or the post person could always punch in a little bit of that. So always do both.
Yeah. So when you say you're mixing sort of between the boom and the lavs, and the levels of the lavs compared to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So people who are doing location scouting or directors or something like that, what should they be looking out for? Because they're not really thinking sound, are they? They're thinking look.
Yes.
I mean, so give us a tip. And I've worked with you enough to know what to expect now, but just be cognizant, like stand at a location and listen.
Yes. So something like everyone is watching, Jeff is pretty good about it. He brings me to scouts. Sometimes people do not bring sound to scout, and when you get there, like, oh, okay, we have all this to deal with. And, when sound directors and everyone and producers bring your sound mixer to the scout, because
when he says the scout, the location
scout prior shooting, because there's when you're by yourself and you're like the producer, you're the director, you thinking a lot of things, right? The logistics or the visuals and the, all that. And when you bring a sound person, they're going to have like their own perspective, like, okay, I could see the generator here. We have the air conditioning. We start asking questions. We have control over this. I hear a buzz here. And all the refrigerators, sometimes you have like refrigerators that are hidden inside closet that you figure out like on take 17.
Yeah, there's a hum.
Yeah. So, if you bring a sound person to the scout, that helps. But if you're by yourself, and I understand the whole budget, like we were talking about indie film, is just trying to also tune that part about the sound, right? Sometimes it could be a beautiful location, but it could be a rough place to record sound. And I understand sometimes it's a unique look, and you will go for it. But sometimes you have like a better option that's kind of similar, but will be a little better for sound and other aspects.
Do you know that expression that a lot of people use? Some people joke about it, but a lot of people actually use it and say, we'll fix it in post. I don't love that. I don't believe in that. So fixing it in post when it comes to sound is often doing ADR, like alternate dialogue replacement, where you bring an actor in and you didn't get their lines clean on set because airplanes were flying over, whatever the case was. And then they gotta say their lines again, matching it to this pace and I just feel like you never get it right. I mean, there's some people who are really, really good at it, but it takes a lot of effort and time, and actors aren't always in the moment the same as their performance. So I don't love ADR. I try to avoid it like the plague, just because I just feel like it never really matches well. Like, I would rather take extra time on set to get it right if we possibly can than fixing it in post. But a lot of people say we'll fix it in post. What's your experience with that?
So yeah, the whole ADR thing, I'm with you. Like the actor, right? They're in the moment. They already like shooting for days. They're in the character. When they're gonna do the ADR, it's like a year from now, or like and they have to kind of try to get back to that.
Yeah, remember what they were feeling.
Yeah, so it's a really complex, and it's a different environment, and you're trying to match. It's like there's a lot of cons onto it, but I understand sometimes you get, I don't know, like we've never done movies that has a lot of fans or something that is obnoxiously loud, but sometimes people work in movies that had that kind of stuff, and we did one for the visuals. Let's try to do one for safety, turn the fans out, and just we could do like a variation that could be a good one, or it could be more usable sometimes than the ADR.
But there's something that you taught me also that makes a lot of sense, is that you've said sometimes to me, I mean quite often actually, you'll say to me, it's going to be too tough to get this dialogue as clean as I want it. So let's shoot the scene and then let's go right away and find a quiet room, isolate the actors, and have them do ADR right there on set. Even though it's not an ADR sound studio or anything like that, but they're in the moment, they know their lines, the scene just happened, and you're right. It's just better to do it that way. I think it makes more sense. Now, it doesn't exactly match, but sometimes it's better than you're going to get after the fact.
Yeah, it's like a safety, right? They just did it, and okay, we did the scene. Now we're gonna everyone do a company move, so we just go really quick with the actor right there, do some variations of the line that they just said, and sometimes it could be like on the other person coverage, and you could get that line. So it's a gold nugget that you could use.
Yeah, you have, like you said, you have a safety. You have just in case you need it, and you often do actually.
Yeah.
So now, I don't think you're going to feel this way on my sets, because I have a lot of respect for what you guys do on the sound department. But on a lot of low budget indie films, you're the guy who has to say, okay, we need it again. Or hold on, stop, or hold, everybody hold, because the plane's going over. And you're causing a lot of delay and time, which is important because you're wasting your time because you can't use the take anyways. But do you feel like people get aggravated with you? I mean, you are a nice guy, and you always say it with a smile, but still, you are slowing the shoot down often.
Yeah, sometimes, like on a longer project, like a feature or like a multiple days project, you kind of have to pick your battle sometimes, right? So like, oh, that, like you already said, like, that wasn't perfect, but it's usable. Like I don't want to hold everyone just because of this one little aspect of the sound. But sometimes you have to pick your battle. Like that was not good, and I have to speak up and do my part, and that will be the director's decision. Like, okay, we're good, or like, no, okay, let's do it, because I just have. It's a lot about communication, right? You don't want them to find out later all the problems, but sometimes you have to pick your battles, because sometimes they will stop giving to you if you do like every 5 takes or every scene you ask for that. So
right. Okay, yeah, they're going to say enough is enough. We need to keep moving. You're being too much of a perfectionist.
Yeah, so you have to pick your battles. Like, hey, yeah, that was not usable, and I have to speak up and go straight to the source. So to you or the first AD, second AD, so whatever,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're saying like on your sets, I love working with you because you're pretty good, and you always ask me.
Hold on, before I say cut, usually, or certainly after I say cut, but usually before I say cut, I say to Scott, who's the cinematographer, "Are we good?"
Yeah.
He says good, and then I say, "Beto, are we good?"
Yeah.
And then you often say, "Let's do it again," or "We need one more," or "We're good."
Yeah. Sometimes I'll leave it to you. I'll do a little bit. Okay, then
Yeah.
you say it.
No, but that's chemistry. And, sometimes I say, shit, we have to do it again. That's too bad. I like that take, blah, blah, blah. But,
Yeah.
you're listening to things that I'm not listening for. you're hearing things because you're wearing your headphones, and I mean, I'm wearing headphones too, but I'm not I'm listening for story, dialogue. You're listening for outside sounds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it does make a difference. I mean, I agree with you. Better that we correct it and find it on set than give it to an editor and they get frustrated and we can't use something, or we have to try to correct it after the fact. It's way harder to correct it in post. So anybody who's listening will figure it out in post, or will fix it in post. Try to avoid that as much as possible. Honestly, it's so aggravating to do it, and way more costly, by the way. Having everybody on set and doing it right there, I mean, you don't have to bring the actors back and book a studio and do this and do that. So it actually is better. So what would you say the most difficult part of your job is? Like, what is the most aggravating or challenging part of your job?
Like what we were just saying about pick your battles, sometimes that could be a tough one, right? But I think sometimes other people don't know what it takes, or a little bit of education. So you have to be really good about communication. And sometimes on the moment, you don't have time to explain a lot, but you just have kind of be really good about communication and try to get your message across why you need something, right? That could be tough sometimes, right? Because we're behind and all that. So sometimes you have to be kind of really quick, and you have to make decisions really quick too. If should I point that out or not? And sometimes it's a technical aspect, right? Sometimes the lava is not working. Sometimes it's the range of the equipment of the lava system. So it could be different things. But yeah, it comes down sometimes to like a technical challenge. But a lot is I think it's like communication. But that it's like in every group environment set, right? So
You know what I also always get a laugh out of is that you and the boom people, your assistant, you're always reaching down people's shirts to stick the wires in the lavs, and all these beautiful women, and you got to, excuse me, do you mind if I reach down your shirt to put the lav in? But people, you're so respectful and so professional, and nobody gives you a hard time about that, do they?
no, like it's like they're professional actors and actresses, so they know, right? So they it's more sometimes easier to approach them than like someone like if you're doing like a corporate job and it's a CEO, or like
Right.
especially like female, like, and like you have to kind of explain yourself, and
Right.
and you kind of give them a tutorial. They do everything. Like professional actors and actors, they kind of, hey, go ahead. And but then it's like it's easier to put a mic on them, but sometimes you have to do readjustment. So you have to be pretty good on like, you just go when you really have to, to adjust, because that could be tiring for the talent. It's right when you have to readjust the mic so many times.
Yeah, but and there's so many like there's so many styles. Like some are clips, right? So if you have that situation where you can actually clip it, that's the easiest, obviously. But then sometimes you have to stick it. Sometimes you have to put it to the side, the shoulder, this. I mean, all the stuff I've seen you do, underneath the buttons and all this kind of stuff. Whereas, it's funny because I go to a lot of theater, live theater. And the mics, they don't try to hide the mics as much as, like, in a narrative film, you're going to hide the mic. You don't want anybody seeing that lav. And so I've seen situations where you said, we can't hide it. It's not going to work because of the wardrobe that they're wearing. And you just go boom. But in live theater, you see it on their head, you see it on their side, you see it everywhere. And nobody cares because they know it's a mic. Whereas in a movie, you'd never do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad because you get way cleaner sound in live theater. I mean, it's much easier to do that, not try to hide the mic.
Yeah.
You put it the right spot. So if you were to say you get in on, on my productions, you come in early. You're one of the first people I hire. Have you ever had the desire to actually make an indie feature yourself?
I was just thinking about that. I think not a feature, because I think that's a lot. I'll start with short films. You're saying myself making, like,
Well,
as a
because what I'm
director?
going to say to you is, what advice would you give to indie filmmakers in terms of if they want to make a feature? Like, there's a lot of things I talk about in terms of finance and organization and all that stuff that I talk about all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're very involved with one of the most important technical elements of the film, hearing it. If somebody's saying, okay, I'm going to make a feature, often you say, like, people don't think about the sound until after, when you're on set. What should they be thinking about leading into it? I mean, like, one of the things you said is take your sound mixer, do it, location scouting. I 100% agree with that.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's like you were pretty good about it, and that like it's thinking since the beginning that it's a really important aspect of the filmmaking of the whole process. Like, oh, that's a important element. Like they all are, right? But I think like when you put that in your mind, like, okay, I should bring sound to the conversation on like scouting and early on giving them the script and things like that, and also like budget wise, right? So not like afterthought, like, oh, I burn all the money, I have just this for sound, right? So if you dedicate your resources, that will help you also. But I understand when you're like doing the indie filmmaking that you have a limited amount of budget. But you know, kind of like what I said in the beginning, like, okay, you don't have the budget, but you're able to bring a production sound mixer. Already thinking of having a dedicated boom operator, even though if it's apprentice it's better to have someone that knows, not like a PA that is going to be doing this, you
Yeah.
know, but someone that really, even though they're starting, they could be their apprentice or something that is like, you're going to have like a department, not like a one-man band trying to do like everything on their own, because you're gonna get the compromises, right? They're recording like, how are the levels? Let me boom at the same time. Like, you know, I've done it. We all do it, but like when it's like a narrative, like it's, you kind of have to slow down and not have like that kind of mentality of let's just, you know, skims things and compromise it.
You know, it's funny. I'll be honest with you. So sometimes I say to myself, should I take Beto on the location scout? Because I know exactly what he's going to hear. He's going to hear those boats going by. He's going to hear the train in the background. He's going to hear all this hum, and he's going to tell me, "Don't use this location." And I'm going to want to use the location. It's almost like I prefer not to bring you because you're going to tell me what I already know. But you know, you and I have kind of found this balanced place where you know that I am going to compromise certain things because I want other things, right? Like I want a certain look on the location. So even though the sound's going to be not as clean as you want it, because that's your job and your only focus basically, it'll work and you'll figure out a way to make it work. We could tell endless stories about how many times you have to wait, you know, for certain things, which every shoot has that, every single shoot. I mean, our style is, I mean, you know, I'm going to share this with the audience, that I don't cut the camera. I just let it run. And I say, okay, ready? And you count it down usually, you know, okay, everybody ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we go. Because the camera's already running, because you don't want to have to reslate and redo all that kind of stuff. Because when you're in a tough sound situation, you got to be in the moment. You got to be prepared. You got to grab it literally within the 10 or 15 second window that you have. And so you're good that way. I mean, I think you, me, and Scott are a good team that way in terms of figuring those things out and knowing full well that we have to just be ready and just grab it right there. And so that works out well. Because as a director, I'm telling you, sometimes you do get aggravated as like, gosh, come on, seriously, can't we figure out a way to make this sound better? You know, even though you know you can't. You know you can't stop a train from running in the background. Any final thoughts, Beto, in terms of people who are thinking of going into the sound side of the business? Or
Yeah, I think like if you're really interested in sound, you know, do your research, watch videos, study, and all that. But I think it's really important, especially when you're starting out, trying to find a mentor or offer yourself to be their utility or boom operator, because you learn so much from other mixers, right? Because you're gonna get to a point that it's just you, or like you're the mixer getting hired. But when you're starting out, you have the chance to learn so much from other people. Like, you know, for me, I learned so much like when I boomed for other people in the past, and I take that until this day. So it's if you're interested in sound, um, it's one advice I'll give it to you.
yeah, I think that's good advice. Just learn from the best. So Beto, thank you for first of all delivering really good, clean sound on my movies, but secondly, agreeing to take the time to be a guest on the show. I think a lot of people underestimate the value of sound, and they shouldn't, because it's just so. You know, I often say that if I had to choose between sound and visuals in a movie, I think I'd choose sound. Between the dialogue and the movie, I think the story is told between the dialogue and the music. The music creates sort of that emotional feeling. The dialogue obviously tells the story. The picture shows stuff, but the sound in some ways is more important in my estimation. So thank you very much for your time and for being a great teammate on our shoots. and I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. It was a pleasure talking to you, and all the projects we worked in the past, and it was an honor that you considered having me here on your podcast. And
More to come, Beto. More to come.
all righty.
All righty. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you just heard it from the expert, and I said heard it because sound is so important. You gotta hear it. As Beto said, you need to take the time, spend the money to do it properly, because if you don't have good sound, you don't have a good movie. Remember, if you have questions, you want more details on everything, you can always email me at jdeverett@deverettmedia.com. I look forward to hearing from you. See you next time.